Amid the coronavirus pandemic, anti-counterfeiting has taken on greater importance than ever before. The opportunities that life under lockdown create for counterfeiters, particularly in the areas of pharmaceuticals, healthcare and PPE equipment, are enormous, and the practices of counterfeiters have become increasingly advanced. For example, the holograms and distinguishing markers applied to the blister foil, the film, paper substrates of packaging are now very easily mimicked and imitated to a very high level of accuracy. To the untrained eye, the genuine and the fake examples often look identical. Now, there's also an ever-growing problem in the manufacturing and supply chain, with the potential for counterfeit drugs to infiltrate healthcare systems, leading to treatment failure and death. And according to the OECD, prior to COVID-19, international trade in counterfeit pharmaceuticals was worth $4.4 billion US, and that represented about 1% of the total worldwide imports in pharmaceutical products. Now, this is creating not only serious economic consequences for the sector, but also a significant threat to public health. As a society, we may not be sufficiently prepared for this problem, and the need for sophisticated anti-counterfeit technology is growing faster than ever before. Now, my guests today are experts in the anti-counterfeiting technology. With me is John Houston. John is CEO and Chairman of YPB Group, listed on the ASX under ticker code YBP. And also Bernie Brookes. Bernie's the non-exec chairman of Dotz Nano under the ASX ticker code DTZ. Look, let's get some context for today's discussion. I want to ask you two very, very simple questions and a brief response. So first of all, what is counterfeiting? And secondly, how is anti-counterfeiting technology helpful for COVID-related industries?
So firstly, I think the definition of counterfeiting is really an opportunity that people take to counterfeit or to copy or to take a product, and there's $2.2 billion worth every year across the world that effectively enables someone to produce a product that looks identical, may taste or smell identical, but is very different. And so from our perspective, that's an enormous opportunity to track and trace a particular product to give a much improved and more accurate result. And it's becoming very important, obviously, in a COVID-related environment.
And if I could add to that, counterfeiting, or maybe put a different spin on it, it's theft. It's theft of a brand's integrity, and it's cheating consumers at the most basic level of giving them something that they think they're buying the real thing, and it's fake, substandard, and quite often dangerous. In a COVID world, people will be doing things that they never did before. They'll be wearing face masks, they'll be using sanitizers, and all these products will be readily copied by counterfeiters, and that activity will be going on right now as we speak.
And Bernie, again, welcome to you, and thanks for joining us on the program. How do counterfeit products generally enter the supply chain, and are there any countries that are more prone to infiltration by counterfeit products?
So I had the opportunity to spend 2 years living in Guangzhou, 3 years in Mumbai, and 3 years in Africa over the last sort of 20 years. And during that time, it was very noticeable to me about the extent and breadth of counterfeit or substitute products. And their origins come from production facilities that are producing the main product that at night or in the evening may change to produce counterfeit product. It comes from copy factories in various areas that are producing products that are produced in home or in a small factory that can steal and copy very easily the product that looks the same, tastes the same, uses the same leather, but might be a very different product. So it doesn't matter which part of the world that you're in, and probably more in third world countries, it becomes evident as an increasing problem. But if you ever visit Shenzhen and go to the multi-level markets of counterfeit products, you see then the enormity of the problem and the opportunity that's there for people to produce copy products. And I think that's now starting to become a product that's very, very important, not only in things like retail, but also in the medical environment, where you're talking about drugs and products that can impact people's lives. And COVID face masks are a very, very good example of something that the wrong quality or the poor quality of the face mask can have a demonstrative effect on someone's livelihood.
And John, historically, what approaches have consumers and manufacturers used to deter and detect counterfeiting? And over the years, what technologies have helped this problem and what technologies are failing?
Well, I'll just start at 30,000 feet and say that to add to what Bernie said is that the problem comes out of places like China in particular. Most of the counterfeits in the world come out of China. And the opportunity, the business opportunity actually exists more in the Western world because they're the really places that the counterfeit products are targeted at. And so in terms of how brands have addressed counterfeit, historically, I've been doing this for nearly 10 years, and sadly, anti-counterfeiting is not a regularly practiced approach by brands and packagers, and to an extent, the anti-counterfeit activity has been limited. And I think that the good thing for the industry is that COVID-19, this pandemic, has raised the awareness of the importance of provenance and safety to a level that I haven't seen in 10 years involved in this industry. I started in the industry, I was attracted to trying to do something good for humanity when the baby formula scandal occurred in China, which killed little babies and hospitalised a lot of them. And at that time, there was a lot more interest in it. It's probably waned. We came up with the concept that if the counterfeiter can see it, he can copy it. And that's across the board. If they can see it, they will copy it. And we came up with an invisible tracer, which, due to its invisibility, defeats the being able to see it aspect. I think that might encapsulate your question.
And Bernie, have you seen much pickup in inquiries about adopting anti-counterfeit technology? And if so, what's driving this interest?
I think one of the first big drivers is that where people can normally go to a retail outlet, validate that a particular product is bought from an authentic retailer or bought from an authentic chemist, that now the online world and the World Wide Web has created an environment where you're not necessarily touching, feeling and seeing the product. And I think the other thing is a lot of the measures that are being used are easily being also copied. So whether it be an RFID tag, whether it be a hologram, whether it be a thread that you can put inside material that has an RFID sensor in it, most of them now are able to be copied or duplicated to some extent. And so even the basic items of RFID tags are also easily now copied. And so what we're seeing is people look at more unique, more hidden, more multi-layer systems that provide for them a degree of surety. And so that surety leads people then to look at things such as face masks, medical, sporting equipment, industrial parts, anything at all that can be copied and can be copied at a significant uncompetitive advantage in a sense, but from a financial well-being, and they're looking for alternatives. So what's taken this to the next level has been, one, COVID and the need for integrity through PPE products and medical products, and then two, the access to the World Wide Web and people being locked in and therefore using the World Wide Web a lot more and therefore easily attracted to products that may not necessarily be authentic.
Well, coronavirus has changed how we live our lives, how we work and how we shop. And with social distancing regulations, we're increasingly reliant on a whole range of digital solutions such as online pharmacies to fulfill our needs. With heightened levels of digital activities during the pandemic, counterfeiters have quickly seized on the opportunity by changing how they operate or developing new criminal activities. In March this year, Interpol coordinated an operation across 90 countries, seizing counterfeit surgical masks, antiviral medications and other medications. Now, this one operation resulted in 121 arrests and the seizure of $30 million worth of potentially dangerous pharmaceuticals. John, what does news like this about Interpol's operations suggest about the size and scale of counterfeiting operations? And what evidence are you seeing that this problem is increasing?
Well, first of all, I think that that type of, those numbers and that activity is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the size of the issue. There's been studies which suggest that the cost to the global economy of counterfeit is the same as the GDP of a mid-sized country. So it's an enormous cost to the community and to brands. And so I think that that's really good that police forces and Customs and Border Patrol are doing this sort of thing. But I mean, it's an enormous issue, far bigger than that. And I couldn't agree with you more that the COVID-19 pandemic has seen counterfeiters move from their historical activities of, for example, Viagra was one of the most counterfeited drugs in the early stages of our life, and now those guys have switched to medicines and face masks and things like that. So the guy that used to make fake branded T-shirts will now make fake face masks. But it's the tip of the iceberg. I think it's an enormous issue, and I hope that, and I welcome Bernie being so passionate about this as well. It's a relatively new industry for Australia, and there's really only 3 listed anti-counterfeit or brand protection companies in Australia. And it's great to have the industry working together to form a common voice to this scourge.
And Bernie, what sectors of the economy should we be looking to protect from counterfeiting, and what sectors are most at risk?
So I think the focus at the moment, as John rightly pointed out, is medical, and so it should be. I mean, COVID-19, whether it be PPE product or drugs or medicines, or even equipment that's used in medical, have all got significant potential issues with counterfeiting. And I think that obviously is the point, for very obvious reasons, of first visit. However, the fashion industry is something that has been significantly impacted, and we've seen brands collapse on the basis of counterfeit products being available. And then you look at the sporting goods and sporting products and industrial parts and car parts and coatings and paints. So where it started as perhaps a factory that was able to duplicate or produce a Louis Vuitton bag that wasn't Louis Vuitton, it's now moved into more sophisticated and better counterfeit product and stretching right up to something that you think would be sort of immune to it, which is the medical fraternity because of the strong supply chains, but it's not. And whether it be masks or medicines or whether it be products for general protection, we're seeing that now evolve as being a major issue. And I think most people in the criminal world will capitalise on what's happening in the environment. So they're capitalising big time on protecting people from COVID, just as previously it was the fashion industry that had suffered from it. But I think the part we don't know is how widespread and deep it is, and whether it be escaping cigarette tax in Africa or whether it be BMW car parts that come from overseas that may not be authentic parts but are sold that way. This problem is far significant than what people first imagined, and far more dangerous, particularly in some areas.
Well, the trade in fake goods is estimated to be worth about 3.5% of world trade and rising. Industries such as footwear and clothing suffer from about 1 in every $5 of value estimated to be counterfeit goods, while watches, medical equipment, perfume suffer from about 1 in every $20. Now, the amount of total counterfeiting globally has climbed from $1.2 trillion US dollars in 2017 to $1.8 trillion US dollars in 2020. Now, this includes counterfeiting of all products ranging from defense equipment on one hand through to, counterfeit watches. John, briefly, how is your technology helpful for the general consumer market when authenticating products, and what applications does it best suit?
Our technology is proven, tried and tested, and it's starts with the tracer product, which is invisible, can't be copied, can't be destroyed. So you can put our tracer into something and you can burn it, and after that you can still scan it with the little scanner. It's very simple to apply to almost any substrate. So we can put it into plastics, paper, inks, thread, polyethylene thread. We can put it into plastics, so the plastic lid on the top of a pharmaceutical bottle, for example. It's very inexpensive and very simple to check through the supply chain. Ours is a B2B currently application. The exciting thing about YPB is that we have the global perpetual rights to technology that was originally developed at MIT that we affectionately call Motive Micro. And we have now developed a tracer material which is unable to be copied, unable to be duplicated, unable to be destroyed, etc., which is scannable by a smartphone without the aid of any additional device. So these two products, the B2B historical tracer product and our Motive Micro product, are very helpful to brands at both the supply chain level and at the consumer level. And we also have really pioneered in Australia what we call Connect, which is the ability to create a platform that allows brands such as Nature One Dairy, which is one of our customers, to put a serialized QR code on the bottom of an infant formula tin and have the ability to see where that tin is scanned anywhere in the world by a consumer smartphone. So we have a range of products and opportunities, and we basically say that authenticity triggers engagement, although you can't see it at the back of my screen here. And so it's very relevant for not only historical counterfeit, but also very relevant in this coronavirus world that we're living in.
And Bernie, briefly, tell us a little bit about your technology and how it helps and what applications are best suited for it.
I think John and I are both fighting a similar fight with slightly different means, but both have a similar outcome, which is great for the anti-counterfeiting environment. I think from a Dotz point of view, the Nano Dotz product can be put into any product, and I'll give you an example of some of the products that we put it into a Bauer hockey stick to ensure that it can be scanned to it's a genuine product, right the way through to hundreds of millions of surgical masks and PPE gear that we've now have the Dotz product into worldwide. And as part of that, it's non-toxic. It can also have an end-to-end authentication system where we can't be replicated or reversed engineered. It can withstand heat and cold, and it's invisible to the customer, but it also provides multi-layers of security. And so those multi-layers mean that it's even the forensic or non-forensic or invisible part of it, depending on how far you want it to go. And it's identifiable through an iPhone app, very similarly to John's product. And so you can identify it very quickly to see that it's a genuine product. You can use a QR code to gain more information as well. And it does give you, through the smart cloud system, from a Dotz point of view, immediate information as to the product authenticity and track and trace as to batch numbers, etc. And so in a similar means to John, I think what we're trying to do is provide a degree of comfort to our customers, whether they be customers in the medical environment, whether they be in the PPE environment, whether they be in sporting goods, that they're buying an authentic product.
And John, what can investors expect to see from your company over the coming quarters?
So over the coming quarters, we have actually had a great result in China, in that we've been in China for about 8 years and we've probably marked billions of products, but actually our China business continues to show great results, and I think we'll see more good announcements and good activity coming out of China. We are beefing up in the Asian area, and so geographically we've been quite strong in Asia, China, and the Australian market has shown more interest, I would say, in product provenance in the last 6 months than it has for the last 6 years. But the great opportunity and the exciting thing about YPB will be the release of the Motive Micro app and the ability to for the consumer to scan a product and identify whether it's real or not and create consumer engagement. And that will be the biggest milestone, and we expect to be able to announce that and proudly be able to roll that out. And the motive micro technology then will go further. We're in development of what we affectionately called MM2, which is serialized invisible markings which are smartphone readable. And so watch this space. There's more interest in counterfeit or anti-counterfeit than we have ever seen. And there's a great new world of opportunity. And actually, even though Dotz Nano may be a competitor, I welcome them to the Australian, fight against this this technology. And I think as an industry, your viewers should watch this industry with great interest.
And Bernie, what about from your side? What can investors expect to see from your company over the short term?
So from the start of the year, when we were a sort of fledgling, difficult customer, difficult trading environment, there's no doubt that the COVID-19 has worked to give us some tailwinds, but it's been more than COVID-19 for us. So we've had 4 major announcements, which has secured over $40 million in income for us, which changes the whole metabolism of the business. And naturally, the share price has jumped sort of 7-fold during that time. And as part of those $40 million, they've been predominantly in the PPE space. And so at the moment, we've only ventured into Turkey, the UAE, into Canada and North America, and 100 million masks for Australia. However, going forward, we have a number of negotiations underway in the PPE space, but also in the sporting goods space, where we expect to drop a number of announcements over the course of the next 6 months. And of course, the other area that we've already echoed to the market is the instant COVID-19 test using Dotz Nano through the saliva and the DNA of an individual, where you scrape your tongue similar to a drug test, and immediately within a few minutes able to see whether you have COVID-19. That's in the final clinical trial stage, and is proving to be quite successful. And there's quite a race to get that launched, and we're expecting that to also be another announcement in the not too distant future.
Well, thanks to my guests, John and Bernie, and a final word from me. Authentication technology was previously an overlooked sector, which has been awakened by COVID-19. Coronavirus has reset the playbook for many sectors, including a cohort of ASX-listed stocks that sell product tracking and authentication technology. Now, this was a sector that struggled to attract investor attention for a long time, but the pandemic has thrown up some unique opportunities, forcing many of these companies to rapidly accelerate and adapt their business model over the last 6 months, buoyed by very strong tailwinds. Well, let's see what happens as this sector expands. I look forward to presenting more ideas about ASX investment opportunities to you. Until then, thanks for watching, and bye for now.